The so called life is half fireworks, half pure joy. The former Zhou An shone brightly, indulging in extravagance and extravagance. Nowadays, he is content with poverty and contentment, and the Buddhist lineage is lying flat. Being in love, getting married, and having children is the most desirable thing to do. Daily life keywords of the novel. Urban leisure life without pop-ups, urban leisure life complete collection download, latest chapter reading of urban leisure life. Chapter 1. Billionaire Zhou An. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 1 Billionaire Zhou An at 5 p.m., Yushuan Community. Located in Mo, it is even the busiest financial center in China, just 2 kilometers away from the famous Tang Chinipin. Ordinary people spend their entire lives working hard, carrying decades of mortgage loans, only searching for a place to live. And here, the transaction volume of each house is in the tens of millions, which is not surprising, making it unattainable and unattainable. There are great scholars in conversation and laughter, but there are no white people in communication. The homeowners living in it are either wealthy or wealthy. It is common for the chairman of listed companies, big stars, financial giants, technology giants, and top leaders from various industries to appear in the Yushuan community, which is not worth mentioning. Brothers, even though our side is currently in a disadvantaged position, this is actually a false impression. Little dragons, big dragons, defense towers, these are all irrelevant, at most a little bit of economy, just give them. Now is the most important criterion for judging top ADCs and garbage ADCs. Garbage ADCs will follow their teammates, guard towers and high ground. And the top ADC has a flexible mind, quick thinking, and secretly develops by finding a way. Until I get the 6 gods outfit, I want to let my opponent know what cruelty is. Zhou An stared intently at the computer screen and said. On the computer screen, 5 people from the blue side gathered together. With the blessing of the dragon buff, the blue minions and sports car soldiers pushed towards the Highland Tower, watching closely and launching an attack in the next second. However, Zhou An controlled Jinx's slow and orderly progress on the road, replenishing troops and closing the line without any concern for the crisis situation. Speak slowly, taking notes. Anchor, I did as you said, why would my teammates criticize me? People are not good, don't blame the road for being uneven. It's because your understanding is not in place. Only by reaching the level of an anchor can you understand the good intentions, trust your teammates, and trust them. It's never too late to learn, I understand. At this moment, many viewers in Zhou An's live broadcast room are adding, yin, oil, yang, and, strange, qi, to him. His words are extremely pleasant, pleasing to the eye, and pure positive energy. Live broadcast room. The Highland Tower was pushed, he was pulling in the thread, the front tooth tower was pushed, he was pulling in the thread, and finally until the dazzling, crystal clear red crystal made a huge explosion sound. Your team has destroyed the inhibitor. The nervousness eased, and Zhou An put down his mouse and sighed softly. He couldn't speak and ignored the strange words of the audience in the live broadcast room. Most of his audience were the last batch of eunuchs in China and had long been accustomed to it. Zhou An returned to the League of Legends settlement interface, with a particularly prominent red record. He didn't know when he would be able to break free from the advanced cancer rank of silver. Not only did he miss the score this afternoon, but he was also about to advance to the bronze rank. Some melancholy, some sadness. At the beginning of the order, I was crazy about giving away players' heads. It seems like I only know how to play in the wilderness without catching anyone, and I have never been out of the wilderness. I chose Galen in the middle of the single, just to disgust my teammates. I am also a fool in assisting, not following the ADC's reinforcements, and wandering around. These 4 people seem to be playing this game for the first time, which is torture for me as a normal player. In order to create a good gaming environment, I suggest strict investigation. Zhou An typed with both hands and quickly pressed with 10 fingers, giving birth to a short essay and directly submitting a report. My unpleasant mood suddenly improved, and a faint smile appeared on my face. Unfortunately, there was no camera and the audience couldn't see it. In the early stage, there were bold words, in the middle stage, there were wild words, and in the later stage, there was silence. People gather in groups, and things flock together. The anchor's ability to team up with these good teammates is also excellent. Playing a professional game with one god and 4 pitfalls is really difficult, and the anchor has done his best. I can't take care of this group of vegetable chicken teammates. Alright, that's all for today's live broadcast. If there's something to do tomorrow, I'll be pigeons. Zhou An whispered and turned off the live broadcast. After a long live broadcast, Zhou An will deliberately filter out bullet comments that are not good. Don't take things online too seriously. If you take them seriously, you will lose. Hiss, comfortable. Zhou An stood in front of the French window and howled loudly. The hot weather in July, drinking a sip of frozen Fat House happy water, is simply the most beautiful moment on earth. As the sun sets, it changes colors, as if to showcase its dazzling colors to all things in the world. The golden light falls on the riverbank, and a gust of wind blows, causing the rippling waves on the river surface, evoking memories of Zhou An. Last year, wearing a bachelor's uniform, I took photos everywhere on campus and made an agreement with several good friends in the dormitory to keep in touch even after graduation, and to walk more often. Unexpectedly, in just a few months, relationships have become unfamiliar. The class group that used to have 99+ messages has never heard again since graduation, but there have been more messages on social media, such as WeChat, advertisements, or soulful chicken soup. Although money is not omnipotent, what is closer to omnipotence than money? Don't worry about having no confidence in the future. Money will naturally bring beauty. An inch of time is worth an inch of gold. It's hard to buy an inch of time with an inch of gold, but I'm still willing to sell my day's time for some gold to use. The world is too big, so big that I can't even find you after traveling through mountains and rivers. The world is too small, so small that I met you in a corner in a blink of an eye, and 1,000 words turned into one sentence. Brother, you should repay the money now in the ivory tower. One can think about the future, realize their lifelong dreams, become a boss, become a star, and become a person who has an impact on society. Entering society reveals that adults are not easy, and they have to endure the oppression of managers and bosses while commuting outside every day. Zhou An once thought about holding a college reunion, but it was unsuccessful. Some had to work overtime, some had to take care of their children, some were too far away, some felt like it was a waste of time, and some had already taken on the heavy burden of their families. Later on, Zhou An gradually understood that entering society was beyond his control, and not everyone could live as easily as he did, without worrying about money. For the vast majority of people, life is a survival game, running back and forth for only a few taels of silver. For a small group of people like Zhou An, life is about enjoying games and not worrying about money. These people are the proud sons of heaven and the beloved ones of the heavenly emperor. Zhou An is a middle-class family, and if it weren't for unexpected wealth, he would also be facing many problems now. When he first started college, he accidentally obtained a Bitcoin worth over 10 billion yuan from overseas forums. Upon seeing the flattering smile, flattering gaze, and almost nauseous words from the bank employees, Zhou An confirmed that his life had undergone a complete transformation. After the transaction was completed and taxes were deducted, over 10 billion yuan fell into the bank account. At that time, Zhou An was not overjoyed, but rather was nervous and anxious. How does he use consumption, explain to his parents, and become a wealthy person with this 10 billion yuan? Too many problems flooded into his mind, and after 6 months of digestion and sedimentation, he finally accepted himself as a billionaire. Getting rich inevitably leads to violent consumption. In college, he did what he believed wealthy people should do, but after violent consumption, it brought endless emptiness. In the eyes of outsiders, he is extremely sentimental, easily possessing things that others can hope for but cannot reach for a lifetime. Thinking so much is purely a matter of overeating. Z is not a fish, how can one know the joy of fish? There are many things that are stuck in one's heart and cannot be said. After graduating from college, Zhou An did not follow the routine of finding a job, but instead squatted at home and became a squatting brother. Billionaires are still working under the command of others, driven by others, which is not the life that Zhou An wants. In my spare time, I started a live broadcast on the internet. Although I didn't show my face, I gained the love of many viewers with my outstanding abilities and humorous eloquence. He broadcasts his favorite game League of Legends for 4 hours every day, starting at 1 noon and ending at 5 o'clock. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Ordinary and Ordinary Zhou An. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Ordinary and Ordinary Zhou An. The summer sun sets very late, reluctant to part with this beautiful land. It's not until around 6 o'clock that the sun starts to set west after work. A sunset spreads over the water, half the river rustling and half the river red. After a while, the sunset seemed to rise, setting solemnly and solemnly, falling into a deep sleep, and it also carried away a splendid and spectacular picture. Slowly, all the redness in the world seemed to be taken away by the sun and disappeared into the sky, water, and earth. Handsome, said Zhou An narcissistically, standing in front of the mirror. But he has a narcissistic capital, his facial features are as distinct as sculptures, and his angular face is exceptionally handsome. Persistent exercise throughout the year, with a bronze complexion, strong limbs, a height of about 1.8 meters, and a majestic figure. Wearing a custom-made sportswear, it was neither big nor small, perfectly fitting. His six-pack abs were faintly visible, fully showcasing his robust physique. I have not experienced work trials and pounding, and my whole body exudes a youthful and energetic atmosphere. The sun was setting and the temperature was slightly lower. The old man and lady walked out of the house, some were taking a walk, some were chatting, and some were playing chess together. The community was not as lifeless and lively as at noon. Mr. Zhou went for a run again. A black hat security guard saw Zhou An's figure from a distance and greeted him with a smile. Only Zhou An is out for a run at this time in the entire community, and other business owners are either still working or picking up and dropping off cars. The owners of Yushuan community are either wealthy or wealthy. Compared to other owners, Zhou An has less experience and more youth. Even though everyone's wealth is not much different, and even their wealth exceeds 80% of the people in the community, there is still a gap in vision and experience, and they cannot communicate with each other. Others are talking about what big project they won today, how much it costs to raise funds, and where they opened a branch office. Zhou An can't get in touch at all. It's impossible to talk about gaming, right? Discuss how to use Lucian's combo, how blind monks can flash their eyes, whether black cut is powerful or 3, and what is the most basic skin of Teemo. Zhou An is now integrated into the wealthy circle and cannot return to the ordinary circle. Personally, he feels quite good, carefree and free. Yes. Zhou An smiled back at him and said softly. By the way, the property management of the community recently bought a batch of flowers to decorate the community. Do Mr. Zhou need to bring a few pots home to decorate the room? The black hat security guard patted his head and asked, remembering something. Zhou An stopped and thought for a moment that his room was indeed lacking in colorful decorations, it was too monotonous. He nodded and said, okay. I'll come back later to pick it up. Thank you for reminding me. It's okay, this is our responsibility. Watching Zhou An's figure gradually fade away, a young security guard next to the black hat security guard said, Brother Chow, Mr. Zhou looks so young. He is actually the owner of the community. Do you know how old Mr. Zhou is? Chow Gu came to his senses and patted the young security guard on the shoulder, saying, 23 years old. So young, even younger than me. The young security guard's eyes widened with surprise. Chow Gu smashed it and sighed, saying, some people are born in Rome, while others are born as mules and horses. Don't envy envy won't come, just live your ordinary life steadfastly. Your current salary is also the envy of many people. After working for more than 10 years, you can marry a wife and buy a house in your hometown. Yesterday Mr. Zhou gave us some abalone left. Do you want to eat it? Eat, I heard it costs hundreds of yuan each. Going out of the community is the famous Chunshan River and the well-known Bund. Zhou An put on his headphones and immersed himself in the world of music, then jogged along the riverbank. The Bund of the Magic City is a bustling place filled with people and cars. Every day, many tourists come here to admire the bustling areas of the Magic City. Visitors flock to the Bund, taking photos and reminiscing about it. There are also many beautiful girls dressed in gorgeous clothes, filming short videos, and several magnificent boats by the river, shining brightly. But all of this has nothing to do with Zhou An. After all, even if it is a heavenly beauty, dreamy and ethereal, watching it too much will make him tired, especially since he has lived here for more than a year and has long been accustomed to it. Now he follows his own rhythm, step by step, running slowly. The faint sea breeze is stirring Zhou An's soft hair, drifting with the wind. Zhou An is very satisfied with the weather in Magic City. Although it is hot in summer, there are occasional sea breeze blowing near the seaside. Unlike his hometown of Sichuan province, which is already inland in a basin surrounded by high mountains with no wind, it is extremely hot and humid, which cultivates people's mentality. Compared to the people around him, Zhou An appears somewhat unconventional. Others take photos, he runs, and other people gather in groups. He is alone, and the strange looks cast at him don't bother Zhou An. He just comes for a walk. Of course, there are also running places, gyms, and lounges in the Yushuan community, as well as beautiful and handsome coaches. But Zhou An just wants to run outside the community, under the shade of green, occasionally with the breeze blowing by, green leaves dancing with the wind, and melodious songs playing. The waves on the river follow the wind. Actually, another reason is that since graduating from college, Zhou An has been living alone, eating alone, shopping alone, and playing games alone. Over time, he will feel a little lonely. Only in this bustling crowd can he find some excitement, the fireworks of the human world, and the most soothing to the hearts of ordinary people. Zhou An is an extremely contradictory person. I like to be quiet and silent, but also enjoy being noisy and bustling. Desire to be loved, but also crave not to be disturbed. I casually declined a conversation with a young and beautiful girl. A black silk woman is the best, but unfortunately, I am not an ordinary person. Jogging by the river, this run lasted for about an hour. For him, the amount of exercise is not too much, but the temperature is high, and his body is covered in sweat. Drops of sweat fill his face, not appearing embarrassed. Sweat soaked the clothes, showcasing the perfect six-pack abs and highlighting the charm of men. In the hot summer, it is necessary to have an ice cream that is icy and cool. The dense taste is irresistible, and it is like an angel who saves the summer. Unfortunately, ice cream is so expensive nowadays that it is not something that ordinary people can enjoy. The refrigerator is filled with ice cream assassins, and ordinary ice cream is hidden in the refrigerator, but often gives a fatal blow at checkout. Zhou An widened his eyes in the supermarket, concentrating on selecting ice cream. Zhong Xuegao, the first ice cream assassin. Meng Long, the representative of the ice cream assassin. In the end, Zhou An chose Haagen-Dazs. I, Zhou An, am a wealthy person. What's wrong with eating Haagen-Dazs? At the checkout, he couldn't help but feel a pain in his heart, 329 yuan. How could this ice cream be so expensive? Tearing open the packaging, Zhou An was thinking about how to swallow the packaging bag. With a feeling of being slaughtered by someone else, he shook his head and said, "A big complaint belongs to me." Eating ice cream while walking on the road, enjoying the beautiful scenery of the Magic City. At this moment, it is the peak rush hour for work, and the wide road is blocked with water and the sound of horns is deafening. He was particularly proud in his heart, a bunch of fools who insisted on driving, walking on the street by the river, and leaving work during peak hours. It wasn't as fast as my number 11 bus. After not walking for a while, I arrived outside a hotel, magnificent and magnificent. I had just finished 2 ice creams in my hand and walked in. Standing at the door, the waitress was dressed in a black uniform and looked quite beautiful, but there were signs of surgery on her face. When she saw Zhou An, her eyes lit up and her face bloomed with flowers. She walked up to him and said, "Good evening, Mr. Zhou. We have already arranged for you." "Okay, thank you." Nodding, she walked towards the hotel under the guidance of the waitress and arrived at a table by the window. The waitress bent down and poured him a cup of tea, with a flattering smile on her face. She gazed at him with a pair of beautiful eyes, pursed her lips, and said, "Please wait a moment." The other guests in the hotel were all dressed in suits and leather shoes, with shiny leather shoes, while the women had a variety of styles, including an evening gown, a long skirt and shorts shorter than Zhou An's underwear, all in full bloom. Compared to these people, Zhou An is out of place. He dresses slightly sloppy, with a T-shirt, shorts, sneakers, and a little sweat on his forehead. He doesn't want to go home and take a shower, change his clothes, and then have hot pot, it would be too troublesome. I don't want to order takeout hot pot either. It doesn't taste like hot pot, so I'll just eat it all over. Of course, Zhou An dared to walk in after smelling it outside and realizing that he didn't have any sweat or odor on his body. And he's very speechless in his heart. He just wants to eat hot pot. You need to dress up like this, and if the hot pot seasoning splashes on him, you'll know it hurts. The hotel serves dishes very quickly, and Zhou An said to the waitress, "I don't need anyone to serve me while I eat hot pot. You can take a break." After receiving repeated affirmation from Zhou An, he reluctantly left. Before leaving, his face was full of disappointment, and his eyes were fiercely focused on him. Fortunately, Zhou An had enough composure. "Are you trying to cook for me? I don't hesitate to say you are attracted to my handsome face and perfect figure, you are despicable. I also want to leave my innocence to my future wife." Zhou An thought to himself. These hotel waiters are graceful and beautiful, and the hotel guests are even more prestigious, especially those like Zhou An who is both handsome and wealthy. Naturally, they want to take advantage of him. If Zhou An is blind and falls in love with her, then she will fly up to the branch and become a phoenix. People must have dreams. Eating hot pot in summer is the most contradictory but also the most popular, drinking chilled Sprite, blowing the air conditioning, and still enjoying it despite being drenched in hot sweat. There is a loneliness index circulating online, and eating hot pot alone ranks 5th. But in Zhou An's opinion, eating hot pot alone has a unique flavor, and there is no need to care about the feelings of others. Playing with your phone while eating is very enjoyable. Although the others in the hotel looked at Zhou An with strange eyes, they did not give any guidance. Everyone knows that the people who can eat with this attitude in this luxury hotel are definitely not ordinary people. Wearing sloppy clothes means that for others, it's just an ordinary meal and not worth mentioning. After the 5 flavors of the dishes, having a hot pot on a hot summer day is incredibly satisfying. Although it costs over 3,000 yuan, it's worth it. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Love Matters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Love Matters. Returning home, I took a shower and relaxed my mind and body. It was already over 9 o'clock in the blink of an eye, and time passed so quickly. Zhou An retrieved 3 pots of flowers from the security guard in the community. 2 pots of Baoyan lantern flowers, such as a 100 yuan free gift to homeowners, are extraordinary in high-end residential areas. Of course, wool comes from sheep, and the annual property management fee is definitely not affordable for ordinary people. Left and right in front of the French window, the huge flower bud is like an upside-down lantern, the petals are like an upside-down lotus, and the top of the flower stem and the petals are covered with small balls like pearls and gems. The mood is immediately happy, and the living room is much more angry. The other pot is a lotus peony, placed in his bedroom. The leaves are beautiful, the flowers are exquisite, resembling a lotus, and the landscape effect is excellent. The flowers purchased by the property management in the community are quite beautiful, with 100 flowers competing for beauty and colorful. However, in this summer, there is a hint of colorful always brings spring. In this duplex room of over 150 square meters, just because of these few pots of flowers, it becomes vibrant and vibrant. As night fell, neon lights lit up, all kinds of lights, colorful, very dazzling and dazzling. The night view of the Bund is the most charming, with crowds and laughter streaming through the Bund Square. The lights in the surrounding buildings are as bright as daylight, not intended for tourists to visit, but rather a true portrayal of countless working people still working. Many troubles in the world are caused by a few tales of broken silver, but these few tales of broken silver can alleviate all kinds of worries. Oh no! When Zhou An opened his mobile phone, he found that he had missed many calls. Usually no one would call him, except his parents. These calls were from his mother, Lu Lanyu. After careful counting, there were a total of 12 unanswered calls, which was like a series of deadly calls. When Chow Chow arrived, Lu Lanyu's phone call came back. "Hello, you finally answered the phone. What did you do just now?" "I haven't answered the phone yet, and I'm ready to go to the police station to report it." Lu Lanyu's iconic big voice, slightly magnetic, came from the phone, and if you listen carefully, you can hear a deep and affectionate tone inside. Lu Yulan is a very gentle name, but it doesn't live up to its name. His mother is a shrewd and acute person. "I took a shower," Zhou An replied. "Mom, what's up with you?" As soon as he spoke it out, Zhou An regretted it deeply and felt a cool breath flowing down his soles until his head was completely clear. "You shouldn't ask such a question." As expected, Lu Yulan exclaimed loudly, "I can't call you if I have nothing to do, can I? You unfilial son, you usually don't know how to call me, but when I call you, you still ask what's going on. You've gone crazy in the demon and forgotten about us, you're really unfilial." As soon as he came up, he labeled Zhou An as unfilial and continued to flow like an upside-down river without any intention of stopping. In fact, Zhou An loves his parents very much and is also very filial. He makes a regular phone call to his second son every week to express his condolences for his safety. Occasionally bring expensive health supplements to the home to nourish their bodies. It hasn't been a week yet, but Zhou An can only smile bitterly and compensate repeatedly, unable to argue with his mother. He can persuade Lu Yulan verbally, but ethically he has lost a mess. "Xiaoan, have you found a girlfriend?" Lu Yulan scolded Zhou An for about 10 minutes on her phone, finally remembering her main purpose of making the call. Her voice narrowed down a bit and she said. After circling around and getting back on track, Zhou An took a deep breath and said, "No, Mom, I'm looking for it." "How do you handle things? You're almost 25 years old and still alone. Do you remember your neighbor's son? He used to play with you, but now everyone else's children go to kindergarten." "Mom, I'm only 23 years old." "Rounding around means you're already 25 years old. Don't change the topic. When will you find a girlfriend?" "I haven't found the person I like yet, and you don't want me to marry a girl casually, which will cause unhappiness in my future marriage life and make you both unhappy." Zhou An experienced the life of a wealthy person, with extravagant luxury goods, exorbitant cars, a presidential suite priced at 100,000 yuan per night in a 5-star hotel, and the famous Spade A in a bar. He was able to enjoy 10 bottles of it without any financial constraints. He has played everything that wealthy people should play, and he has also played things that shouldn't be played. But there is one thing I haven't done before, which is to have a relationship with women, not even in love. It's unbelievable that a wealthy, attractive, and curvaceous person is still a virgin who has never been in a relationship at the age of 23. Throughout his academic career, Zhou An has always been a prominent figure in his class, loved by many girls and even confessed to him as a school flower. However, he refused without mercy, and his classmates thought he had a male bias. If he wants to have sex with women, he can be the groom every day and enter the bridal chamber night and night. There are mother.in.law and laws all over the country. However, Zhou An did not. It's not that he doesn't want to find his girlfriend, it's that he can't find it. Perhaps due to personality reasons, or perhaps because he was young and wealthy, Zhou An did not pursue love without love. Instead, he hoped to find a heart-wrenching partner and spend his life together, living a leisurely life in the mountains. Zhou An is a traditional man. In his view, emotions are a matter of great importance and cannot be played with. All dating without the purpose of marriage is just playing hooliganism. Now it's stuck here. Lu Lanyu is asking him to find a girlfriend as soon as possible, and Zhou An is just that emotional threshold. Then don't play around all day and focus on the right path. Find a girlfriend soon, get married, and give birth to a big grandson for the two of us. Lu Lanyu's voice softened and she advised softly. As a mother, she hopes her child can get married, have children, have the next generation, and pass down the family line from generation to generation. But she knows better that she loves Zhou An and hopes he will be happy for a lifetime. If she had to choose one for Zhou An's happiness and inheritance to the next generation, she would not hesitate to choose Zhou An's happiness, and maternal love is no exception. Lu Yulan just mentioned a few words about her marriage. She understood that Zhou An would take this matter to heart, and then around her physical health, good or bad weather, and family situation, she reported peace to each other. How have you been working lately? Zhou An's father, Zhou Yanchuan's deep and heavy voice came over, with a serious tone and kindness. Not bad, that's it. How about you, teacher Zhou? Have you been busy lately? Zhou Yanchuan is not a teacher of education, but a small-town civil servant. Compared to civil servants, he prefers to be called a teacher by others, believing himself to be particularly respected and respected. Zhou An has always referred to him as a teacher. An honest man in his 40s, with a clumsy mouth and no ability to speak, only knows how to bury his head in work and doesn't know how to build interpersonal relationships. He worked in the town for more than 20 years before getting to the level of a minor subject. This life will come to an end. Of course, Zhou Yanchuan is also quite contented, and his biggest wish now is for his only son to marry and have children. A bit busy. The national census is being held, so you don't have to worry. You know there are only a few people in the town, so it will be better after being busy for a while. Like most fathers and sons in the world, there is little communication and interaction between Zhou An and his father, all centered around Lu Yulan. After Zhou Yanchuan answered, the two fell into silence, unsure of what to say. I have bought some supplements for both of you. They should arrive in a few days. Please ask your mom to pick them up and treat them as snacks when you have free time. You don't need to buy supplements, as you know your mother runs a supermarket and has everything. A few days ago, she went to the hospital for a physical examination and was in good health. Lu Yulan runs a small supermarket in the town, and with Zhou Yanchuan's reputation and network, she can be considered wealthy and profitable. Except for being a little busy during the Chinese New Year, the rest of the time is spent playing mahjong and chatting about town gossip, leisurely. The father and son spoke very little and were about to hang up when they heard Lu Lanyu's voice again. By the way, Zhou An, I have found a blind date for you. He also works in the Magic City, is beautiful, has a bachelor's degree, is sensible and capable, and most importantly, knows the root and the bottom. You can take a look tomorrow, and I will send you photos and phone numbers. Okay. Got it, Zhou An agreed. Understanding is mutual, and Lu Lanyu understands the difficulty of falling in love, while he understands Lu Lanyu's feelings and naturally nods in agreement. Meet and have a meal, just consider meeting a new friend. We cannot let down Lu Lanyu's hard work and dedication. Shining lights cannot shine into the pitch-black sky. Where are you, my wife? Do you know how hard your husband has been looking for you? Since God has bestowed upon me a great wealth, why not bestow upon me a wife whom I have long dreamed of? Looking at the pitch-black sky, without receiving any response, it's useless. Late at night, in an unknown small town in Sichuan province, everything is quiet and there is no sound around. There was no one on the street, only the streetlights were still emitting lonely afterglow. This is the situation in an ordinary small town, without bright lights, deafening noises, bars, KTVs, and a series of entertainment facilities. Only an ordinary and simple life. Do you think there will be a play for tomorrow's blind date? Let me see. Zhou An has never been in love since childhood and is too picky about relationships. Lu Lanyu said softly as she calculated the accounts. Teacher Zhou lay motionless in bed and looked at his phone, saying, "Children and grandchildren have their own blessings, so don't worry too much. It's not the meat falling off your stomach, so you don't feel sorry, right? If you don't do anything serious all day, you know to study stocks. Even if you don't make money, it's okay if you don't make money, and you're still losing money. What can you do?" Lu Lanyu put down her pen and turned around, scolding. "Why didn't I do anything serious? I went to find Zhou An's blind date this time." Teacher Zhou dared not look at Lu Lanyu's eye-catching gaze. In terms of family status, the first is Lu Lanyu, the second is Zhou An, and the last one is Teacher Zhou. "Come on, lazy pig. If I hadn't asked you to go talk, could you go? How much did the stock lose today?" "No losses. My face has turned green, I haven't lost anything yet." Lu Lanyu is illiterate, while Teacher Zhou has a vocational degree. The difference in knowledge between the two cannot make up for the emotional intelligence gap. Teacher Zhou has never taken advantage of Lu Lanyu in his lifetime. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Alternative Dating Partners. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Alternative Dating Partners. As a high-quality squatter, Zhou An's life is quite regular. He goes to bed at 11 p.m. and wakes up at 7 a.m., with a standard 8 hours of sleep. Wake up in the morning, open the window, and the dawn slowly opens. It's another day full of vitality. Zhou An washed up and made a breakfast for himself. There were porridge, steamed stuffed buns, dumplings, and 2 eggs. It seemed complicated and varied, but in fact it was very simple. Wash the rice and put it in the pot, while also putting the eggs in. The skin and filling of buns and dumplings are all available in the refrigerator, just wrap them directly. Overall, it took less than 30 minutes to complete. Paired with pickled vegetables, this is the best breakfast in his heart. Sitting in the living room enjoying breakfast, the sun slowly rises from the east, dyeing the entire city golden. This bustling city is once again bustling and busy, and the sun reflects on the glass, swimming in the city according to its own laws. Heart is incredibly peaceful, life is really beautiful. After finishing the meal, it was already over 8 o'clock, and nearby office workers began to rush towards the company, while Zhou An also started working all day playing League of Legends. As a deeply addicted internet player, Zhou An has long grown tired of the feeling that winning with money is enough. In the midst of adversity, he recharged tens of millions and ultimately won the game without any joy. League of Legends is a free game with no threshold, allowing Zhou An to rediscover the fun of the game. The feeling of working together and using various techniques to defeat opponents is satisfying. He doesn't want to stay in the advanced stage of cancer for his whole life, and if possible, relying on his own abilities to become a gold medal is also excellent. At that time, hit the faces of the audience in his live broadcast room hard. I had good luck this morning when I met a good teammate and successfully regained the points I lost yesterday. A page of victorious records gave Zhou An a sense of pride and complacency in his heart. He was very close to silver and also very close to gold. After checking the time, it's almost 11 o'clock and we can't play anymore. We still have some business to do today. Zhou An tried on several sets of clothes consecutively before finally making a decision. The upper body is a pure white shirt, the lower body is casual pants, paired with a pair of small white shoes, youthful and energetic. Generally speaking, he doesn't pay much attention to dressing, he wears whatever is comfortable, and there is no need to add too much constraints to himself in his lifetime. But after all, if it's a face-to-face blind date, you still need to think more about it. One is to respect oneself and spend time specifically looking for a stranger woman. The second is to respect his parents, who have spent so much experience searching for a blind date for him. The third is to respect each other, and only by respecting others can we gain their respect. This is the most basic etiquette for being a person. Start the car and drive towards the agreed location. Fortunately, it wasn't time to finish work and there weren't any traffic jams along the way, otherwise Zhou An would have been late. The two agreed to stay at a small restaurant near each other's company. When Zhou An arrived, it was not yet 12 o'clock and the office workers had not finished work yet, so they waited for a while. "Excuse me, are you Zhou An?" The voice of the unfamiliar girl rang in her ear. It was her blind date, Shone. A girl wearing a pink-blue dress, with slightly wheat-colored skin, looks so healthy. Her jet-black hair cascades vertically over her shoulders, and her face is slightly flushed. "Yes." Zhou An gentlemanly pulled out a chair for Shone and asked her to sit down. "You are much more beautiful in person than in the photo." "Thank you. You're also very handsome. If you have anything you want to eat, just order it." Zhou An handed the menu to Shone and said with a smile. He didn't have much hope for this blind date, he just came to complete Lu Lanyu's task. One is that Shone is not the type he likes, although Zhou An doesn't know what type of girl she really likes. Secondly, Zhou An did not tell Mr. Lu Lanyu about his huge wealth, so in the eyes of outsiders, he is now a poor boy working in the Magic City. Shone is quite beautiful and has many choices. Why do she like herself? At noon, it was the peak time for office workers to eat, and the small hotel was crowded with people. The sound of noise, chatting, and ordering was heard. Shone didn't order expensive dishes, just ordered 2 home dishes, mapo tofu, a famous Sichuan dish, and twice cooked pork. Unlike some blind date partners who order lavish meals recklessly, it seems that they are not going on blind dates, but rather trying to kill the queen. Zhou An ordered boiled beef and loofah soup, 3 dishes and 1 soup, which was quite good. In theory, when the two meet, Zhou An should take Shone to a luxury hotel to consume abalone and lobster for tens of thousands of yuan in a meal. It's possible to do this, but it's not necessary. The two of them only met for the first time, deliberately extravagant, which would only make the other person unhappy, and he had already passed that extravagant youth period. The weather in Magic City has been very hot lately. Zhou An rarely communicates with girls and is a standard straight man, so he asked with a standard opening line. "Indeed." Shone gently slapped her face with her hand, hoping to bring a cool breeze. "Since we have both fallen into a blind date situation, don't beat around the bush. Let's get straight to the point and strike straight in. What do you think?" "Sure." I didn't expect Shone to look gentle and considerate. When she spoke, she was so direct. On the spot, Zhou An was confused and didn't know what to do. Seeing Shone's indescribable smile, he promptly reacted and nodded, "Okay. Do you have a room?" Shone stopped smiling, sat upright and put on a serious expression. "No." "Do you have a car?" "No." "Do you have any savings?" "No." 3 consecutive questions are like 3 sharp swords piercing into the opponent's heart, trying to put them to death. If it were an ordinary person, they might still stutter, dodge words, and even lie to deceive the other person in order to leave a good impression in their heart. But on the contrary, he pretended to be rich and poor, and when he answered, his face was still filled with a confident smile, and his eyes sparkled with light. In fact, ultimately, the wallet determines confidence. Zhou An is wealthy, so he can say whatever he wants. Even if he says it wrong, he doesn't care. When he sees a bunch of densely packed numbers on his bank card, he will always speak for him. Very honest, Shenwei said softly with a surprised expression. Thank you for your praise. He carefully moved the food he brought toward Shenwei so that he could get it. Shenwei picked up a piece of boiled beef and put it in her mouth. Her eyes narrowed and she felt very happy, saying, "That's great. I think if you don't mind, we can date for a while and give it a try." Ah. Zhou An's mouth slightly opened, his eyes widened like copper bells, staring straight at Shenwei, feeling somewhat unbelievable. Did I hear you right? In less than half an hour since they met, she actually wants to date me. Yes, you heard me right, Shenwei seemed to hear Zhou An's thoughts and nodded. Can I ask why? Firstly, you are very honest, unlike those blind dates I used to meet, who lied incessantly and had no idea what was going on. Secondly, your family is very wealthy, and although you may not be considered wealthy, you can still be considered prestigious. Finally, I am 26 years old, almost 27 years old. I am not young, and my family is urging me hard. Even my peers and children know how to make soy sauce. Another thing that cannot be ignored is that you are very handsome. Women are both sensory and visual animals, and their handsome appearance is highly commendable. I don't mind having a sibling relationship. Shenwei revealed all her inner thoughts, candid. It's unbelievable that blind dates are so fast now. What do you think of us? You're 23 years old, and I'm 26 years old. There's not a big age difference. In my third year of college, I'm holding on to a golden brick. Maybe after we're together, you'll become successful. Shenwei put down the dishes and stared at Zhou An's face, both satisfied and smiling. Zhou An's head spun at high speed, thinking about how to speak, but he had experienced too few girls and didn't know how to answer well, so he kept pausing. A disappointed expression appeared on Shenwei's face, flashed by, and she forced out a smile. Okay. Refusal words have filled your face, and I don't want to get a definite rejection. I find it boring. Today's meal is for you to treat me as compensation for hurting my weak soul. How about that? Sorry. There's nothing to apologize for. It ends before the relationship starts, which actually makes people feel even more comfortable. But if we get married and have children, and then realize we're not compatible, it will be too late and it will lead to a real disaster. Compared to Zhou An's silence, Shenwei exudes a carefree and elegant temperament all over her body. Between the two, Zhou An seemed to be the rejected side. Don't just focus on eating, chat for a while, be quiet, it's so awkward. Even if you can't become a lover, you can still be friends. Driven by Shenwei, Zhou An no longer fell into that guilty mood. The two had a meal and talked a lot about work, life, and interests. When it was time to settle the bill, she had originally changed her mind and wanted an AA system, but was rejected by Zhou An. It already hurt Shenwei's heart and wanted someone else to be AA, isn't that poking his spine? The two exchanged contact information and, as fellow villagers, agreed to gather more in the future. Dong dong dong. Just as Zhou An was about to drive away, the car window began to sound. You're not honest, I seriously doubt what you said earlier. Shenwei stood outside the car with a serious expression and a tone of displeasure. Zhou An was suddenly surprised and remained motionless, with a bitter smile on his face. The two of them looked at each other through the window. I saw Shenwei clearly entering the building and then return to the hotel to drive. I didn't expect to be shot back and still be discovered. Poochie. Shenwei's expression was serious, and she couldn't help but burst out laughing, looking very happy. After a while, he stopped smiling and said, "What brand and how much does this car cost? Don't deceive me anymore, otherwise I won't even be able to make friends." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The gear of destiny quietly rotates. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The gear of destiny quietly rotates. Aston Martin, over 2 million. How much is 2 million? Over 2.6 million, I really don't remember the exact number. My goodness. Just a car is an unattainable dream for me for a lifetime. You dare to say you don't have a car, no house, no savings. You pretend to be quite similar and fooled me over. Although Shenwei is not a materialistic woman and does not have high expectations for her future partner, she knows how big a number of 2.6 million is. More than 2.6 million yuan is money that 80% of ordinary people in China cannot earn. In rural towns, wealth freedom can be fully achieved, and one can live comfortably without work troubles. But so much money only bought one car, which is a depreciating consumer goods every year. I didn't expect to meet a blind date casually, who was so bold and wealthy, and most importantly, could drive a luxury car at a young age. Shenwei is aware of Zhou An's family situation and cannot afford to spend over 2 million yuan to buy a car. That proves that Zhou An did not rely on others, relied on his own efforts, and earned it with his own hands. Shenwei took a soft breath and calmed down her agitated mood, saying, "I regret it. I regret talking too much just now and not leaving any room for retreat. Otherwise, you can treat what I said as not counting and let's continue our blind date. It's hard to turn the tide over the water. Saying something is like splashing water. Oh, my head is in chaos because you gave me too much contrast. Can I take you for a walk?" Zhou An hesitated for a moment before asking. The relationship between the two is fixed in the friend stage and will not change in any way. Since you have been seen, then take a bold approach. Forget it, I've been hit hard and my heart is fragile. I can't extricate myself. If I go to work, how can I buy luxury cars and houses for you capitalists if I don't work hard? Shenwei calmed down and shook her hand, saying. After speaking, he walked slowly towards the company without any lingering feelings. Zhou An sighed and drove away. Aston Martin was his last insistence and couldn't go any lower. In a secluded corner, Shenwei watched Aston Martin leave until she disappeared before her eyes. She pursed her lips, her dry lips slightly moist, and a melancholic and disappointed expression appeared on her face. I finally fell in love with a boy I liked, but unfortunately, the goddess had a dream, and Xiang Wang was ruthless, which made others not interested in me. But it doesn't matter, Rome wasn't built in a day, the two can start with developing a friendship. Who knew that others had such a rich material foundation, which completely shattered Shenwei's mentality? She knew that there was no possibility of them becoming lovers again. I saw her patting her face with both hands. Shenwei, you need to pick yourself up. It's hard to find a three-legged toad, and two-legged men are everywhere. Don't hang yourself from Zhou An's crooked neck tree. With your beautiful appearance and charm that radiates everywhere, men are not just a bunch. Aston Martin is just over 2 million yuan, you can afford it with just a little effort. Believe in yourself, come on. On the way, Zhou An reported to his mother, Lu Yulan, but was unsuccessful. Mom didn't say anything, she had already anticipated it in her heart. She just kept reminding Zhou An not to slack off, not to take things lightly for a while, and to truly focus on finding a girlfriend. After driving for about half an hour, I arrived at the bottom of a building, took the elevator, and arrived at the company gate. Lixin Media Company, Limited. A medium-sized MCN institution was established when the internet celebrity economy was booming, hoping to gain a share of the market and even become a trendsetter in the era. Unfortunately, time didn't wait for me. When Lixin Media entered, tens of thousands of MCN institutions had already been established like mushrooms after rain, competing for this big cake. Fortunately, Chu Hongming, the CEO of Lixin Media, has been working in the media industry for many years with strong abilities and strong network resources, which enables him to survive in the fierce competition of MCN institutions and grab a small piece of cake. But Chu Hongming's own economic strength is not very strong, and he cannot afford to spend money to sign anchor contracts, recruit and operate. Even short video shooting tools cannot meet the needs of anchors. Sailing against the current, if you don't advance, you will retreat. Other MCN agencies have used various means to expand the company's scale, while Lixin Media stands out in this wave, being preyed upon by numerous MCN agencies, contracted anchors defaulting on contracts, and the company's ability to operate has been poached. Quite desolate, sleeping off at work, deducting money. As I walked into the company, I saw a woman at the front desk, lying on the table sleeping, and Anniversary walked up and said. The woman looked up and pointed at her watch, complaining to Zhou An, "Brotherin, take a look at the time. It's 1 o'clock noon, lunch break time." At the age of 20.1 or 12, he had a round oval face, dark eyes, flushed cheeks, and a youthful and lively aura emanating from his body. Zhou An handed her a packet of dried pancakes and said with a resentful tone, "Zhengli, the company is not doing well now. Whenever I think of this, I can't sleep all night worrying about the future of the company." "You still have the heart to sleep, how can you sleep?" "I'm sorry Ange, I know I was wrong." Zhengli smiled and took the small biscuit, clasping his hands together to express his guilt. "You give me another pack of small biscuits, and my attitude and determination to admit my mistake will be even stronger." Foodie. "Thank you, brother, and tonight, I will have an extra bowl of rice to cheer for the company." Zhengli opened the cookies and started eating them, saying, "It's not my turn to intervene in the affairs of the upper echelons of the company. That's something that Mr. Chu should worry about, otherwise Mr. Chu would give me his seat. From the perspective of small cakes, let me tell you some insider information. The sales of our company's contracted live streaming anchor a few days ago were very poor, and we couldn't even recover the cost. Mr. Chu has been in a mess this time. There are no guaranteed profits or losses in the world, and the internet celebrity economy has reduced many additional expenses compared to the physical industry. However, it does not mean there is no risk. Once a mistake is made, it will be irreversible." After eating a small biscuit and feeling in a great mood, Zhengli's little eyes narrowed and he was very cute. "I heard that Mr. Chu is going to sell his company's top anchors to other companies to make up for the losses. Now there are rumors of layoffs, significant layoffs, and cost savings. Employees in various departments are anxious and restless. Those with qualifications start the interview, while those like me who lack qualifications can only live as a salted fish." Suddenly, Zhengli put down the small biscuit in his hand, stood up straight, and greeted Zhou An behind him, "Hello Manager Ho. Do you believe in love at first sight?" If asked about Zhou An's past, he would not hesitate to answer disbelief, and even show a mocking expression, childish and ridiculous. The first time they met, they knew nothing but each other's appearance, and dared to confidently say that it was love. No, that's not love, that's when you have a crush on someone else's body and you're cheap. But at this moment, Zhou An was somewhat shaken, with rapid breathing and an accelerated heartbeat. The normal range of a person's heart rate is 60.100 beats per minute, while their heart rate should be above 100. Zhou An could clearly feel that this was the only time in over 20 years that his heart was beating for the opposite sex, and he didn't know if it was love at first sight. "Is that okay? Not counting. Is that okay? Calculate." He doesn't know. The woman in front of her is wearing a white shirt and a pure white suit pants. She is wearing white high heels and holding a white handbag, giving a sense of tranquility and purity. The shirt is tucked into her pants, simple and efficient, and casual. A melon seed face, with lively eyebrows and eyes, quite delicate, fair skin, very beautiful appearance, slim figure, weak and delicate, showcasing temperament. What impressed Zhou An even more was that the woman's lips slightly protruded, delicate and harmonious, adding a touch of beauty to the light lip makeup. Manager Ho nodded and said he heard it. He looked at Zhou An standing at the front desk, his big eyes full of beauty and demon, his eyes still like a clear stream of water, clear and bottomless. The corners of the mouth curled up beautifully, with a nimble little mouth revealing a row of neat and white teeth that looked very cute. It smiled at Zhou An. Glamorous eyes closed with shyness, and Dan lips smiled one by one. Zhou An's mind was a bit confused, but her reaction was still quick. She nodded and smiled, remained polite and courteous. The two met by chance, strangers, and greeted each other from afar without any further communication. Until the figure disappeared before his eyes, Zhou An turned around and asked Zhengli, who is manager Ho. "Ange, don't you know?" Zhengli sat on the chair, took a bite of the biscuit and continued to put it in his mouth, chewing and stuffing it like a hamster. Until the whole biscuit was finished, it looked cute and made a clicking sound. "This is the manager of our company's content department, Ho Mengting, manager Ho. The anchor has extreme freedom and can start broadcasting anywhere. It has been more than half a year since Zhou An became an anchor under Lixin Media, and he has come to the company very few times, which can be counted with his fingers. I naturally have no knowledge of the company's employees." Zhou An asked unconsciously. Manager Ho looks so young. Yes, manager Ho is only 25 years old now and is in the prime of her career. She was a bit thirsty while eating a small biscuit, took a sip of water, and continued, "Although she is not as beautiful, generous, and elegant as me, she can still be considered the second most beautiful woman in the company and is highly sought after by many male employees." "You look like an emperor, his mother. What does that mean?" Zhengli tilted his head and asked thoughtfully. After saying Empress Dowager, thick, Zhou An laughed heartily and quickly left the land of trouble without looking at her delicate and twisted face. His smile was filled with joy, carefree, and more importantly, full of spring breeze. Regardless of whether Ho Mengting is the person in Zhou An's mind or not, at least let him experience the feeling entangled in his heart, the pounding heart, the feeling that his heart is about to jump out the next second. Perhaps the love he had hoped for so long finally came to him. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Lixin Media. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Lixin Media go through the company corridor and come to the door. Zhou An pushed open the door and walked in, only to see a sky-blue long dress, with fine black hair draped over his shoulders, his face like hibiscus, and willows like waist. At the age of over 30, the beauty of a woman has passed away, but her beauty never fades away. Even good crow's feet are rare, and she still maintains them so well, exuding the charm of a mature woman. "Zhou An, why are you here?" Qiu Qianhong moved her head away from the computer and asked softly with a surprised expression on her face. Qiu Qianhong is Zhou An's live streaming agent, responsible for everything from live content planning to fan group management. "Sister Qiu hasn't been paid for 3 months, so I still need to ask why." Zhou An sat in a chair and asked softly, "If this continues, I won't be able to afford it anymore. I've eaten before but haven't finished." Zhou An is a contracted anchor of the company, and the company pays him a salary every month. However, the last time he received his salary was 3 months ago, so he naturally came to take a look. Although he doesn't care about this little money, he can't tolerate being exploited by others. And the signing fee given by the company is the hard-earned money of Zhou An, which is full of physical and mental activities. Flowers have a special sense of satisfaction. Driving an Aston Martin, with hundreds of thousands of watches, flagship versions of mobile phones, and even custom-made ordinary clothes. Wealthy people like you are starting to cry about poverty, asking us poor people how to live. Qiu Qianhong poured him a cup of tea and joked with a smile. As a broker, she has the best understanding of Zhou An's economic situation, including food, clothing, housing, and transportation, all of which are luxurious, and she is a second-generation wealthy person. Moreover, she has also been to the place where Zhou An lives under the name of the company. The highest housing prices are in the entire Demon City, and even a little bit exposed in Zhou An's fingernails is just the tip of the iceberg, a height that she cannot reach in her lifetime. In fact, Zhou An did not tell her that he had restrained himself after graduation. If he had driven a Rolls-Royce instead of an Aston Martin during his college years, he would have had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars all over his body. After taking a sip of tea for the anniversary, he said bitterly, "I'm in decline now. I rely on the company's signing fee to make a living. It doesn't matter if my salary is delayed for 1 or 2 months, and I understand the company's current situation. But it's hard to justify not receiving my bank card for 3 months. The company is currently facing a critical moment, and I am considering resigning and interviewing for the next job," sighed Qiu Qianhong. Qiu Qianhong has been working since the establishment of Lixin Media and is the company's flagship agent. She has over 100 anchors and has cultivated many excellent internet celebrities for the company. Now that even she is considering changing jobs, Lixin Media is really going to the end. Upon hearing these words, Zhou An's heart tightened and he couldn't let Lixin Media fall. Once he falls, can he still meet someone who is pounding with excitement in the vast sea of people? Difficult, very difficult, very difficult. Is Mr. Chu in the company? In the office? It's not very useful for you to find him. There's no money in the company account, and he can't pay his salary. He's also very anxious now. Okay, don't disturb your work, Sister Chiu. I'll go talk to Mr. Chu. After speaking, walk outside. Dong dong dong. Enter. Chu Hongming, about 40 years old, is the owner of Lixin Media Company, holding 100% of the shares. He wears a pair of black framed glasses, with bright red eyes and bloodshot hair. His beard is shaky, and his originally sparse and scattered hair has not been taken care of for a long time, covered in hair oil. Zhou An was immediately startled. The last time I saw him, he was still full of energy, looking forward to the future and telling about the company's prospects. He also said that Lixin Media went public and invited him to ring the bell. I didn't expect to see each other again in such a desolate and disheartened image. Walking on the street is no different from being a homeless person. You're drawing pancakes for me, but luckily I still enjoy the big pancakes. Zhou An, there's really no money left in the company account now. Give your brother some time to raise funds. Don't worry, even if you borrow money, I will still pay your salary. It won't be easy for everyone. Chu Hongming tidied up his clothes and whispered, "I'll do my job well as the general manager one day." Although Chu Hongming is an old fogey in the workplace, he is still a good person. He never falls behind in his treatment of employees, salary, insurance and provident fund. There will also be overtime pay for overtime. When it comes to anchors, he tries every means to find content and jokes for them. Moreover, most of the employees of Lixin Media are girls, but there have never been rumors of him having an affair with any female employee. Zhou An's live streaming is deeply loved by many people. If he broadcasts seriously, earning over 1 million yuan a year is effortless. Unfortunately, he doesn't care about money, and it's a salted fish. He often acts recklessly without caring about the audience's feelings. Chu Hongming would make phone calls, send messages, and persuade him to live more, make more money, and not think about playing every day. Of course, it is undeniable that Zhou An earns more money and he can also earn more commission. But we cannot erase his good intentions. How much money is still in the company's account now? Not a penny. I just settled the last payment. Professional people do professional work, and Chu Hongming is not born with the talent to be a boss. Surprisingly, there is not even a penny left in the company account. He is more suitable to work under the hands of others. Why did it create the current situation? Chu Hongming's eyes turned red, as if he was about to shed tears in the next moment. However, he knew that the man couldn't help but shed tears. He tried his best to calm his emotions and said, "Our company's internet celebrities with a slightly fan base are all being recruited by companies in the same industry with high salaries. I believe you, Zhou An, have a deep understanding." In his live broadcast room, fan groups, and private messages filled with various recruitment information from media companies, he suspected that if it weren't for the other party not knowing his address, he might have come to his door long ago. Some companies offer very high chips. As long as he plays games, he can earn millions of annual salaries. But he didn't accept it. On the one hand, the conditions are too strict, with a fixed monthly live broadcast of 200 hours and at least 6 hours per day. If the live broadcast duration is not met, the salary will be deducted. For Zhou An, who was too lazy to turn over the salted fish, he was simply trying to kill him. On the other hand, money is just a number for him now, and there is no need to pursue 3 melons and 2 dates to lower his quality of life. Zhou An nodded and agreed. You didn't accept invitations from other companies, brother. I sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart. But not many people can resist the temptation of money. Many internet celebrities under the company choose to default and leave the company, while our company can't afford to sign anchors. This has created a dilemma where the number of company influencers is decreasing, the company's revenue is decreasing, the company's profits are decreasing, and the amount of money invested in the business is decreasing, leading to an endless cycle. Zhou An is an excellent listener who nods, thinks, remains silent, but doesn't interject a word, allowing Chu Hong to speak clearly. The company cannot continue like this, otherwise it will be devoured by others sooner or later. I have put in a lot of effort to sign a few high-traffic anchors, hoping to use their reputation, establish the company's brand, recruit more excellent anchors, and let Lixin Media shine again. Who knew it would be a complete failure? MCN institutions may seem glamorous, but they also have their own difficulties to hide, with significant expenses. Moreover, once their operations fail, their image as internet celebrities will be shattered. Investing hundreds of thousands or millions of assets in internet celebrities will disappear and no longer exist. If the investment in the physical industry fails, there will still be some scrap metal left to buy, while if the investment in MCN institutions fails, it is like burning a pile of money with nothing left behind. Zhou An is non-smoking and extremely dislikes smoking second-hand cigarettes, but in the face of this middle-aged man who is indicating his downfall, he is still willing to light a cigarette for Chu Hongming. Taking a deep breath, smoke shot out from Chu Hongming's nostrils, and his mood seemed to improve. He said, I've been burdened with wealth all my life by Lixin Media, and I can't bear Lixin's failure. Then I took a large sum of money from the bank and prepared to bring goods, hoping that my last attempt would be successful. Unfortunately, the heavens didn't open their eyes and they still failed. They hoarded a large amount of goods and didn't sell a single one, smashing their hands. Finally understanding the company's situation, Zhou An could only sigh helplessly. It cannot be said that Chu Hongming made a wrong decision, because the company has been operating continuously and being poached as a broadcaster by others is just a chronic death. After the last 2 attempts, as long as one is successful, Lixin Media can be revitalized. Unfortunately, it is impossible to achieve 100% success or failure in something. I poured myself and Chu Hongming a glass of water and asked, what should I do now? You still have a wife and children. Tomorrow I'm preparing to divorce my wife. I'll just bear the bank debt on my own, don't implicate the 2 of them. Chu Hongming took a sip of water and coughed. Continuing, he said, Lixin Media faces 2 choices. One is to be acquired, which is also the best outcome. Taking advantage of the company's presence of some anchors and employees, coupled with hoarded goods, they can buy at a good price. What about the second one? The second is bankruptcy liquidation, which is also the worst-case scenario. In the end, you may not even receive the basic salary. Which option has a higher probability? I really want to say it's the first one, but the real situation is the second one. For the past month, I have been visiting companies in the same industry, lobbying and explaining, hoping that they can acquire Lixin Media. But it was not successful. They understood the internal situation of Lixin Media, and high-quality anchors and operations had already been poached. The significance of the acquisition was too small since the rise of the internet celebrity economy, capital has surged in, and MCN institutions have quickly emerged. Everyone saw the person eating the cake, but they didn't see the person who didn't eat the cake and ended up in a mess. MCN institutions have gone from their peak of over 30,000 to just over 20,000 after 6 months of intense competition, with over 10,000 fewer. This is such a terrifying competition, with 27 MCN institutions disappearing every day. After competition, Lixin Media still collapsed. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. God's Favorite Puppy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. God's Favorite Puppy. From the current situation, is it certain that Lixin Media will die? Yes. Zhou An took a deep breath and whispered, then I will acquire Lixin Media Company, Limited. At the moment he spoke, the air in the office seemed to split into two streams, instantly colliding and causing a strong explosive vibration. Zhou An spoke softly, but in Chu Hongming, it was like thunder roaring, deafening. Chu Hongming's cigarette unconsciously fell from his hand, and his pupils dilated sharply, making it impossible to believe his ears. Suddenly, he looked up at the ceiling and laughed loudly. It took him a long time to calm down. It's not Chu Gu, I'm hitting you. Although Lixin Media is about to go bankrupt, the monthly rent of the company is not what you can imagine, let alone other assets. Your kindness and understanding. Thank you. It is obvious that Chu Hongming does not believe that Zhou An can come up with the money to acquire the company, just as what he said was just a joke. In his perception, Zhou An is a lazy and talented young person in live streaming, and having money is not Zhou An's hallmark. The logic is quite simple: who runs a live broadcast for the wealthy, enduring the harsh barrage and demanding demands of numerous viewers. Rich people who spend their days playing games on the internet, playing for a whole day, can still stay in Beijing without any signs of upward mobility. If they were to switch to a wealthy second generation, they would have already found someone to practice on their behalf. Is it because Miss Reality is not beautiful, or because luxury cars are not fun, or because carefree gatherings are not enjoyable? Ha! Zhou An smiled, not feeling any displeasure because he looked down on him. Instead, he looked up at Chu Hongming, who was kind and friendly. If you don't believe it, ask Sister Chiu and you'll know. Gazing at the young and calm expression, Chu Hongming's heart trembled. He felt that what Zhou An said was true, and quickly walked to the door, shouting loudly, Chiu Qianhong, come here for a moment. Attracting the attention, confusion, and sympathy of many employees in the company, they focused on Chu Hongming. At this moment, they couldn't care too much. He was like a person standing in a deep well, and Zhou An handed him the rope of life to help him escape from the well. In no time, Chiu Qianhong walked in gracefully, full of doubts. Shaoan said he is planning to acquire Lixin Media, what do you think? Cigarette took one sip after another, afraid that it was just a fantasy. Before the door closed, he eagerly asked. Buy it now. Shaoan has money. Although Chiu Qianhong doesn't know Zhou An's purpose in doing this, she knows that Zhou An's acquisition of the company is just a matter of small fortune. Looking at Chu Hongming's surprised expression, Huizhi Lanxin knew her mission and asked with a smile, do you know how much the Buddha jade pendant on Xiao An's chest costs? Zhou An took out the Buddha's jade pendant and showed it to Chu Hongming. Before he could answer, Chiu Qianhong said the price, 1.32 million. You haven't seen him much, and your understanding is not deep enough. Shaoan casually picked up an item, which is far beyond the imagination of ordinary people like you and me. When Chiu Qianhong spoke his first sentence, Chu Hongming believed that such a young man possessed unimaginable wealth. He never expected that after working in the workplace for so many years, he could not see such a person around him. In middle age, people tend to think about strange things. Some like walnuts, some like antiques, and some like jade. Coincidentally, Chu Hongming is very knowledgeable about jade. That piece of Buddha jade has a delicate and even color, with a blue hue in the green, giving people a sense of noble beauty. Chiu Qianhong felt that what she said was not enough to attract Chu Hongming, so she continued, let's put it this way. The Rolls-Royce from Shone Garage is more than enough to buy your company. People cannot be judged by their appearance, and the sea cannot be measured. Chu Hongming now completely believed that Zhou An could afford to buy Lixin Media, just sprinkling water. His mind was in chaos and he was talking nonsense. Why didn't you tell me? Upon hearing this, Zhou An chuckled lightly and said, why do I have to tell you that being a live streamer now requires checking my family background? I'm just playing live, and you're willing to give me a generous treatment. Don't waste it, just sign a contract. It's so simple. Embarrassment, and a sense of embarrassment surged in my heart, and I didn't know what to do. Why do you want to acquire Lixin Media? Qiu Qianhong ignored Chu Hongming, who was too happy to find him in the north, and turned around to ask. I don't want to be a host anymore, I want to find a job for myself. So, you're going to become my boss. I know nothing about Lixin Media, including employee data, financial information, rules and regulations, and organizational structure. I have to wait until I have someone conduct a comprehensive investigation of the company before it's time for the acquisition. Moreover, if the acquisition price cannot be negotiated, it will be in vain. In fact, Zhou An's acquisition of Lixin Media has two reasons. Firstly, he never told his parents about his enormous wealth, fearing that telling them would cause excitement and have a negative impact. It has been a year since I graduated from university, and the timing is ripe. He needs a shell to openly expose his wealth to his family. The second one is about Ho Mengting. Zhou An is very confident that Ho Mengting is the person he is looking for. But now he is concerned about Ho Mengting's character, whether it is good or bad, personality, cold or cheerful, values, distorted or positive energy. Moreover, when it comes to dealing with money, what is her philosophy? Will it destroy the pure relationship between the two? These are all issues that require a deeper understanding. If the problem is not solved, love will also break up, marriage will also divorce, and it will be exposed sooner or later. Just as he was overthinking and thinking about many things, Chu Hongming's voice came over and he urgently said, Don't worry, Zhou An. I'm definitely not deceiving you. If you don't believe me, I can take you around the company now to dispel your doubts. At this point, only Zhou An can help him get out of the predicament, grasp the lifeline, and naturally cannot bear to let go. Okay, take me around the company for a walk. Zhou An's eyes lit up and he immediately agreed. He wants to strike while the iron is hot, get to know Ho Mengting, seize every moment, marry Ho Mengting back home as soon as possible, warm his bed, and comfort his lonely soul. As he spoke, Chu Hongming walked at the forefront, and his spirited demeanor returned. Do you have any conspiracy? Qiu Qianhong glanced at Chu Hongming and asked quietly. No, I just want to be the boss and have fun. I don't believe it. I'm usually lazy like a pig, and I wish someone else could bring my food to my mouth. I actually want to be the boss. Are you interested in some little sister in the company, Zhengli? Qiu Qianhong understands Zhou An's mentality. The salted fish can't be any saltier. She feels tired after 4 hours of live streaming and can tolerate staying in the office for 8 hours, which is simply outrageous. Can you be normal? Zhou An replied expressionlessly. Undoubtedly a gold medal agent, with just a blink of an eye, he guessed his purpose. Unfortunately, Sister Qiu, you guessed the wrong person. I am interested in Ho Mengting. Lixin Media Company, Limited has a total of 237 employees, divided into 7 departments. Promotion Department, Operations Department, Anchor Management Department, Technology Department, Administration Department, Finance Department, and Content Department. And Ho Mengting is the Content Department Manager. This is the core department of Lixin Company, responsible for the design and development of creative content for short videos and live broadcasts, and collecting, screening, creative directions and themes according to project requirements. It is often necessary to analyze and research popular video works on various platforms, keeping up with traffic hotspots. The 3 of them passed through each department and met with the department manager. The promotion and operations managers were poached by their peers, but they couldn't find anyone in charge. Finally, I arrived at Homingting's content department. Compared to other departments, the content department occupied a larger area and had more employees. Various filming equipment, props, lights, speakers, and cameras were arranged in an orderly manner, fully demonstrating her professionalism. As soon as you enter the content department, two words come to mind: beautiful. Most of the staff in the content department are female, with sweet looks and a seductive figure. They are young and freely display their youth inside. They shoot various short videos in a dignified manner, and even after multiple NGs, their enthusiasm remains strong. Of course, there are also boys in the content department, but boys are mainly responsible for carrying various tools, pure porters. Zhou An saw Homingting in the crowd at a glance, still so beautiful as a fairy. Holding her arms in her arms, her eyes fixed tightly on the camera in front of her, occasionally frowning, and a strong feminine aura rushed towards her. Homingting noticed Zhou An and the others, her eyes flickering with light, and her tense face relaxed, revealing a hint of elegance. She is like a bouquet of stars in the sky, with light blue petals emitting a fragrance, and the scattered stars bring a spring color. Mr. Chu, when can we receive our salary last month? Everyone has seniors, and we urgently need salary to solve our living difficulties. With a graceful posture, Ping Ting walked towards the three of them, quietly glanced at Zhou An, and asked Chu Hongming. There was a hint of anxiety in the tone, but the sound was like the chirping of orioles in the valley, gentle and pleasant. You haven't paid your salary for just a month. I have received my salary for 3 months. I didn't expect Chu Hongming to distribute his salary among people. Seemingly sensing Zhou An's mocking gaze, Chu Hongming smirked at him to conceal his embarrassment. I didn't expect to meet again. Hello, I am Homingting, the content department manager of Lixin Media. Homingting extended her hand generously and introduced herself to Zhou An. If she can achieve the position of manager, it means she is definitely not low. Naturally, it can be seen that among the three, it is not Chu Hongming who dominates, but the youngest Zhou An. Zhou An. He came without any disrespect and introduced himself, shaking his hand as a gesture of friendship. Homingting's hands are very beautiful, rare in beauty. They are slender, yet full and white, with shiny nails and slender pointed tips. They are cut into almond-shaped shapes, cleaner than ivory. Perhaps due to busy work, one can feel the moisture and a little sweat when holding it. The warm hands completely melted Zhou An's iceberg-like emotions. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Boss Zhou An. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Boss Zhou An. Manager Ho, don't worry, my salary will be paid soon. I won't owe anyone a penny. Please believe in my character, Chu Hongming. Mr. Zhou An is here today to inspect the company and successfully reached an agreement to acquire Lixin Media. The company will take it to the next level. Chu Hongming smiled and said. Now everyone in the company is in a state of panic and has not focused on their work. He must show some achievements to his employees, and a good company image can also earn a premium during the acquisition. In fact, Chu Hongming's heart is dripping blood. Half of her life's efforts have been turned into ashes, and all her efforts belong to others. She has nothing but sadness and sorrow. Okay. Homingting's Casalin's big eyes flickered with light, and she carefully looked at Zhou An for a while before whispering. Homingting understood Chu Hongming's character, spitting and nailing every mouthful. It was precisely because of this that she was willing to work under Chu Hongming's command. The company had not paid a month's salary and had not yet started to mess up. Next, Homingting introduced the content department project, ideas, and employees to 3 people, mainly Zhou An. Zhou An had a general impression of the content department. It can be seen that Homingting has excellent abilities and is highly respected by employees in the content department. Zhou An did not stay in the content department for too long, as it would only expose his intentions, so he left. Mengting, who is that handsome boy? A curious girl standing next to Ho Mengting asked. This girl has a very petite figure, less than 1.65 meters, wearing a white dress with a big braid. She is black and shiny, with a pair of shiny black eyes embedded under her thick eyebrows. She looks quite beautiful. No one else respects Ho Mengting as much, and their status is equal. It is Ho Mengting's best friend, Xiang Jing. Ho Mengting turned her head and said, "We are preparing to acquire the boss of our company." "Oh, wealthy man." Xiang Jing chuckled and joked, "He looks quite handsome and has a good figure. He's really a perfect man. How about that? Do you have any ideas? Are you crazy about men? Are these guys we can afford to climb up to? It's not that I want men to go crazy, but that you want men to go crazy. When I saw Mr. Zhou at the front desk, for the first time, you smiled so happily at a guy you didn't know. You never smiled at me like that before. And you stared at the back of Mr. Zhou's departure for a long time, with affectionate and tender eyes, until they disappeared at the corner before you withdrew your eyes. Is it love at first sight for Mr. Zhou? Ho Mengting's heart pounded and her thoughts were in chaos, but her face remained unchanged. She rolled her eyes and said, "Idiot. Ask Chu Hongming to organize the internal information of Lixin Media and send it to Zhou An for review." After not staying for a while, he left the company. Zhou An is a slow-tempered person who values being calm and meticulous in handling things. The more urgent the matter, the more calm it is to handle it. But when facing Ho Mengting, he became restless and couldn't wait for anything. Without driving home, I sat in the Aston Martin car and dialed my personal lawyer's phone number, giving him instructions on the acquisition of Lixin Media Company, Limited. The next step was to leave everything to him. Professional people handle professional matters. Zhou An is not that kind of material. Don't meddle in it blindly. His private lawyer charges him hundreds of thousands of attorney's fees every year and always has to do something. The private lawyer naturally readily agreed, and since becoming Zhou An's private lawyer, he has rarely been troubled by legal matters. He earns hundreds of thousands of dollars every year while lying down, which is really disappointing. Afraid of not taking care of him properly, such a big customer left him. Returning home, Zhou Anman's mind was filled with images of Ho Mengting, every move, every frown and smile, all so gripping that he was completely immersed in it. Those who didn't know thought he had lost his mind and gone crazy. After taking a cold shower, I gradually calmed down. Perhaps this is the feeling of love. That's great. He lay down late at night, having not dreamed for a long time, and had a dream about the relationship between Ho Mengting and Zhou An. As for the specific situation, it is inconvenient to elaborate on it. In theory, he is so wealthy that the woman who wants to have sex with him can queue up from the capital to the demon capital, and exchange one without a duplicate sample for death one night. But Zhou An couldn't bear to have sex with a woman without emotional ties. It was just a physical collision, and his soul couldn't blend in. For him, it's a torture, and for women, it's an insult. After handing over the acquisition matter to the lawyer, Zhou An still leads a regular life, broadcasting, playing games, running, and occasionally contacting the lawyer to understand the progress of the acquisition. He seemed to feel that his life had undergone some subtle changes, becoming more sunny, cheerful, and vibrant. The private lawyer acted quickly, and in less than 10 days, he had already thoroughly researched the entire asset information of Lixin Media and drafted a plan for acquisition. Next, both parties will officially negotiate and sign the acquisition contract. This is the final step, and it's Zhou An's turn to take action. The lawyers, accountants, and auditors around were dressed in suits and leather shoes, with an expressionless expression and professional skills emanating from the inside out. Zhou An, on the other hand, was much more ordinary, wearing a normal summer outfit such as a T-shirt and shorts. I don't know if I thought he was going to buy groceries. But it's the different outfits that showcase Zhou An's style. Which boss and employee are dressed the same? Moreover, Zhou An has a tall and imposing figure, the tallest among the few, with a handsome and friendly face, yet still exuding a sense of authority. Entering Lixin Media, Zhou An stopped at the front desk. "Dong dong, don't touch the fish," Zhou An lightly tapped on the table, interrupting Zheng Li's distraction and saying with a smile. Although Zhou An and Zheng Li rarely meet, he quite likes this cute and confused foodie. In this world of intrigue and deceit, Zheng Li can still maintain a pure heart, which is very rare. "Oh, I'm thinking about what to eat for lunch," Zheng Li snapped back and complained. "Brotherin, what are you doing?" "If the negotiations go smoothly, I will soon become your boss," Zhou An replied. "I came to negotiate today and didn't bring any snacks." I patted the outstretched hand. "Are they telling the truth?" "Nonsense, isn't it true or is it fake? How do you work every day?" "After I became the boss, I was the first to fire you," Zhou An joked with a smile. Chu Hongming had been openly telling his employees about his upcoming acquisition, but Zheng Li didn't know that this front desk was simply outrageous. After speaking, he ignored the shocked face and left the front desk. As soon as they entered, they attracted the attention of all the employees in the company. They were not the confused bugs like Zheng Li. They had long received news that someone was going to acquire Lixin Media. Although they dared not point fingers, they still had the courage to discuss quietly. "This should be the boss who acquired our company." "Nonsense, a few days ago that arrogant lawyer followed behind this boy, following suit step by step. The owner of the acquiring company looks very young, definitely not over 25 years old, but I don't know if there will be layoffs after the acquisition. You are not well informed. This boss is a live streamer under our company. I heard that the company is going bankrupt, so I want to buy a company to play with and just use it as a live streaming anchor." "I mean, how could someone spend money to acquire our company? It turns out they are their own people." "Who is your own person?" "They bought millions of companies without seeking fame or profit, and don't look at who they are." It is normal for employees to discuss with each other, but Zhou An didn't take it to heart. He pushed open the door and saw Chu Hongming and Qiu Qianhong sitting upright in the office. "Xiao An is here." Chu Hongming smiled and welcomed him. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." After chatting for a while, the contract was officially signed. In the end, Zhou An acquired Lixin Media Company, Limited for 1,820,000 yuan and became the company's owner. To be honest, Lixin Media is not worth 18 million yuan at all. Not to mention, it owes a lot of debt and has a pitiful shortage of anchors, and its reputation is not well known enough. According to the opinions given by lawyers and accountants, Lixin Media can easily win with 13 million yuan. But Zhou An thought for a moment and decided to purchase at a premium based on the quotation given by Chu Hongming. There's nothing else interesting. Chu Hongming and Lixin Media gave him a chance to get to know Ho Mengting. After more than 20 years, his relationship has settled down, and just a few million yuan is considered a red envelope for matchmakers. Love is priceless, love is priceless, love is priceless. Perhaps in the end, Zhou An and Ho Mengting couldn't get together, but so what? He had already done his best to find his love. As Zhou An officially signed his name on the contract, the big stone in Chu Hongming's heart suddenly fell, but it was empty, and he spent half his life working in vain. But with more joy than sadness, there was no need for a broken wife and children. A smile appeared. "Thank you, Xiao An. If it weren't for you, I really didn't know what to do. It was all about jumping off a building." Zhou An also breathed a sigh of relief and said, "It's okay." Speaking, Chu Hongming's eyes turned red, and her crystal-clear tears swirled inside. She couldn't bear it anymore and burst into tears in front of everyone, feeling extremely sad. Zhou An can imagine the pressure that Chu Hongming carries, with some old and some young, the bank still collecting debts, and employees having to pay salaries. If no one helps him, it could really cause a loss of life. Born in this world, not everyone can live as easily, effortlessly, and carefree as Zhou An. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Finding Yourself. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Finding yourself. As he walked out of the office, he coincidentally met Ho Mengting and his best friend Xiang Jing. The two of them were holding a pile of information and their expressions were charged. Zhou An then reached out and said, "Let's meet again." Zhou An, the general manager of Lixin Media Company, Limited. Although there have been rumors for a long time, they have become a reality. Ho Mengting was still surprised and had some joy in her heart. A smile is a beautiful flower blooming on her face, constantly emitting a charming fragrance. It can be described as a charming smile when looking back, with no color in the six palaces. Ho Mengting, content manager of Lixin Media Company, Limited. "Please take good care of her in the future," she said, pursing her lips. I saw Ho Mengting and Zhou An smiling at each other, harmonious and natural. Zhou An whispered, "Help me spread the news of the company's acquisition to all employees and broadcasters. Please rest assured that the salary will not decrease at all, and it will be paid uniformly next Monday." "Okay. You are very beautiful today." The black knee-length skirt is in line with the elegant and dignified dressing style of workplace women. Generally speaking, the long skirt can also cover up most of the shortcomings of the legs, such as thick and uneven legs. However, Ho Mengting's legs are very beautiful, warm and fair, slender and beautiful. The white shirt reflects a straight figure. When Ho Mengting tucked the hem of the shirt into the skirt, the high waistline design clearly helped her shape a high waistline and sharp straight line beauty. Upon hearing this, Ho Mengting pursed her lips and a hint of red appeared on her face. She smiled and nodded, "Thank you, Mr. Zhou. How about adding WeChat?" "Mr. Zhou, what do you want to do?" Ho Mengting paused for a moment, feeling a bit embarrassed and asked in confusion. "Chasing you, what do you think of this reason?" Zhou An rolled his eyes and said straightforwardly, without concealing his ambition. Ho Mengting immediately realized that Zhou An was already her boss, and it was natural to add a contact information. With a smile on her lips, she said, "Zhou always looks up to me, which is a blessing for a young woman. She is afraid that she won't be able to get into Zhou's eyes. It's okay, I don't mind it." Two people added WeChat, and Zhou An left the company. I was already very satisfied when I saw Ho Mengting's blushing expression today. Watching Zhou An's figure disappear before her eyes, for a long time, her heart, which had been shrouded in dust for many years, jumped again, emitting light. "Wake up. Everyone has walked away." On the side, Xiang Jing extended her fair and tender arm and shook it in front of Ho Mengyao, interrupting her best friend's inner thoughts. Xiang Jing didn't think too much, just thought that her best friend was shocked by this shocking news. After all, it's hard for anyone to accept it. It's unbelievable that a boy in his 20s and 30s would come up with millions to acquire a company. At a young age, Zhou An possesses wealth that ordinary people cannot imagine, and he is still so handsome and stylish. Unfortunately, others will never see her in this lifetime. Xiang Jing's thought flashed and he continued to ask, "Do we still report our work to General Manager Chu?" That week, Mr. Zhou was the same. After leaving, he didn't even say what to do with today's work, as if he didn't pay much attention to the acquisition of Lixin Media. Ho Mengyao pursed her lips with a complex expression and said, "Let's talk about it next Monday. You go and convey what Mr. Zhou said earlier, and I'll have a chat with Mr. Chu." The night scenery of the Magic City is so beautiful, it is that majestic beauty, revealing and straightforward. Silver stars twinkle in the sky, like the blinking of a child's eyes to express gratitude. Chu Hongming specially invited him to dinner, but he couldn't refuse. Zhou An walked around several bends and arrived at a private restaurant, where he strode in. "Zhou An, you're late." Chu Hongming felt refreshed during happy occasions, and now he's completely relaxed. His smile has returned. "But you should have a few more drinks." "Sorry, you are aware of the congestion situation in Magic City. Upon hearing these words, Qiu Qianhong, who was standing by, rolled her eyes and said contemptuously, this meal today is not for socializing clients, so don't drink. Zhou An doesn't drink anything, don't mess with him. Zhou An wants to drink alcohol, but is not addicted to it, forming a dependency. He had drunk a few yuan of beer and more than 100,000 yuan of red wine, but he never found out what was good about baijiu. Later, he gradually gave up drinking. And the process of quitting alcohol is very smooth. If you say you don't want to drink, then don't drink. Unfortunately, the hundreds of thousands of good wines at home are not appreciated by anyone and are discarded in the corner. Okay, we won't drink tonight, said Chu Hongming obediently, giving up the idea of having a big drink. It can be seen that in order to prepare this meal, Chu Hongming spent a lot of money. An ordinary dish costs thousands of yuan, and a meal costs at least tens of thousands of yuan. In fact, he is not wealthy now. Not all of the 18 million yuan can go into his pocket, but there is still a lot of money to spend, such as repaying bank debts. I say I don't drink alcohol, but when it comes to deep emotions, I naturally want to drink alcohol. Even if I am alone, I need to take a few sips to express my inner emotions. Although I know that my broken company is not worth mentioning in your eyes, I am very grateful to you in my heart. Thank you very much. You saved my company, saved my hard work, saved my life, saved my family. Not much to say, it's all in the wine. Pour a glass of baijiu into your mouth, and you will feel stuffy. Zhou An took a sip of his drink to express his feelings and said, what are Chu Ji's plans next? After experiencing a huge failure, almost losing his wife and children, and losing his family, Chu Hongming had more ideas and sighed, my personality and abilities cannot be a leader, and my network has also been depleted. I am destined to work under someone else's hands. Are you planning to find a job? Qiu Qianhong took a mouthful of delicious food, squinting her eyes and savoring it slowly. Her words and actions were elegant, showcasing the charm of a mature woman. Although Lixin Media is a medium-sized MCN organization, its internal employees are very capable. Qiu Qianhong is also well known in the industry and will be honored with the title of Qiu Jie when she walks into any company. Otherwise, Lixin Media would have gone bankrupt long ago. They failed because their funds were not strong enough. In the capital world, funds are king. Chu Hongming took a deep breath, shook his head, and said sorrowfully, I don't want to work anymore. Work is too tiring and sad. I'm planning to sell the house in the Magic City and return to my hometown to enjoy life. I'll plant vegetables, feed ducks, and enjoy life. I won't pursue things that I can't get. Don't underestimate yourself. Although you have failed to start a business, you have been struggling in the industry for many years and have rich experience. You can definitely find a good job. If possible, I can help. Qiu Qianhong blushed and put down her chopsticks, whispering. She thought that Chu Hongming had completely lost hope in life and genuinely wanted to give him a hand. Upon hearing these words, Chu Hongming's heart warmed. When facing difficulties, she met Zhou An. During the low tide of her life, Qiu Qianhong was willing to lend a helping hand. With such friends in her life, Chu Hongming did not start a business in vain. Thank you. I poured myself another glass of wine and saluted Qiu Qianhong. I wake up earlier than a chicken and go to bed later than a dog every day. I don't live like a person, just to pursue a few tales of broken silver, but I can't bring them into the coffin. It's better to live a life of carefree and carefree. Replacing wine with tea, to Chu Gu. Zhou An poured a glass of wine for Chu Hongming and stood up, saying, I'm planning to open a farmhouse in my hometown, and you must come and visit me then. Where is your hometown? Qiu Qianhong asked in confusion. Mongolia province. Fuck you. Zhou An, Qiu Qianhong, and Chu Hongming, with an age difference of about 10 years, had a particularly pleasant conversation. Surprisingly, Chu Hongming drank alone and got himself drunk, which is outrageous. Zhou An drove towards Chu Hongming's house, and Qiu Qianhong had a husband to pick her up. Her love was immense, so she naturally didn't need Zhou An to see her off. Although Zhou An didn't drink alcohol, he got drunk and opened the window to let the fresh breeze blow into the car. In the scorching summer, with a gentle breeze carrying heat, it couldn't compare to the air conditioning in the car, but it added a touch of joy and energy to Zhou An's heart. It's already late at night, and the traffic in the Magic City is still congested. Overtime workers are dragging their tired bodies towards home. Chu Hongming, who was sitting in the passenger seat, was drunk and muttered some words, unable to hear clearly, but could feel the joy in his heart. The demon has lost a disappointed worker, and the province has gained a proud middle-aged man. Unexpectedly, Chu Hongming had a weak and small figure, with bones connected to tendons, and his body was quite heavy. He was 1.8 meters tall, carrying Chu Hongming 1.7 meters on his back, which was a bit difficult. Ding dong. Chu Hongming's wife has small eyes, short hair, and is not very tall. She combs a head of curly hair that is draped over her shoulders, and her cheeks have been imprinted with fine lines by time. Her gentle breath fills her face. She gently placed Chu Hongming on the sofa, ran to take out a cup of warm water from the kitchen, and then placed Chu Hongming's head on her chest, slowly pouring warm water into her throat bit by bit. It wasn't until she finished drinking that she remembered there was a stranger in the room and wanted to make him a late-night snack. Zhou An shook her head and refused, quietly leaving Chu Hongming's house. Ruer, I'm sorry. Over the years, I've been working and haven't considered your feelings, leaving you out. It's me who deserves to die, it's me who's not human. Can you forgive me? Xiaoan has already acquired Lixin, so there is no need to worry about the company's issues anymore. Chu Hongming, lying on his wife's lap, spoke softly. Chu Hongming's wife's eyes were full of worry, gently patting his chest to make him feel better. Okay. The damn company has finally come to an end, and I assure you that we will return to our hometown and live the life you want. You don't want to ride a horse, I'll buy you a good horse and roam the grassland all day. In the future, I will cook the meals, wash the dishes, and tutor my son's homework. We will definitely live a happy life. Don't leave me, okay, okay. Ruer's eyes were filled with tears, tears were about to drip. The tears of happiness were so beautiful, beautiful, and under the illumination of the light, they were incredibly beautiful. For so many years, she has been a homemaker, staying at home and almost forgetting her dreams from her youth. Now I finally have to wait for my man to change his mind. At this moment, she tightly covers her mouth, afraid to make a sound, afraid of waking up and causing her son to sleep in the nearby room. Tears followed and fell to the ground. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. It's time to say goodbye. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors.